Antara.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the 16th Marketing Conclave organized by IAMEI and powered by Z5. Without further ado, let me introduce you to the speakers of our next session, Ms. Kavita Reddi, co-founder Voxta, Mr. Anup Goel, Director of Business Development Voxta, and Ms. Antara Nag, Associate Vice President, Karvy Insights. They'll be presenting a case study on conversational IVR and apps for engagement and surveys. Delegates can keep their questions coming in the chat box. Our speakers will address the select few questions at the end of the session. Over to you, speakers.
Thanks, Srinivas. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Kavita Reddi, as Srinivas said, and I work with a company called Voxta. We are the conversational AI company. We do customized voice bots to help brands reach customers in 9 different languages. Let me tell you a little bit of background, and then I will focus on a case study that we did with Karvy Insights on surveys in multiple languages to reach Indians across the country. Just share my screen. Here we go. So Voxta does multilingual customized voice bots in 9 languages to reach all Indians. I am the co-founder, and alongside me, I have Anup Goel, who I'll introduce you to in a minute, and Antara Nag from Karvy Insights to talk about a particular case study on multilingual surveys for government in 7 languages. So let me give you a bit of background. We are a British company. We won the NASSCOM AI for Good award for actually a marketing campaign that we did for Reckitt Benckiser and Dettol last year. We do customized voice bots using proprietary speech recognition and NLP engines to help companies reach different sorts of audiences. The fact that we are available in different languages means that we can target users who are entering the formal workforce for the first time, aspiring middle India and the affluent. And we've been used on IVRs and mobile apps. I'll just move to the next slide. Our voice bots are basically conversational voice bots are available in mobile apps and for call centers. They can be applied to a variety of different scenarios. We can do voice commerce, click and collect, voice ads, customer service, CSAT. Specifically for marketing, we have been used for polls and surveys. We've been used for marketing. We've been used to generate leads very successfully. And we've introduced mobile interactive ads, how-tos and FAQs. And we do these, as I've said, across call centers and mobile apps. I'll just give you some idea of and flavor of the sort of clients that we've worked with. We launched with an interactive voice bot on phone calls for Prime Minister Modi's election campaign, which reached millions, where people were able to call in and talk to him about the key issues that mattered to them. We basically turned Prime Minister Modi into a voice bot, and we were dubbed a political Siri for that campaign. Reckitt Benckiser, that we our NASSCOM award for the AI for Good, we made 1 million calls in Hindi over a 2-week period to engage people with using Amitabh Bachchan's voice on Swachh Bharat campaign. With Karvy, we have done, actually that figure is wrong, about 100,000 surveys in 4 weeks. We've also worked, as you can see, with Talent Sprint, the NSDC, the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, and American firm Grey Matters. So we think voice is a very useful tool in helping companies reach customers, especially in India. So let me tell you, on this specific case study that we're discussing today, Voxta was approached by Karvy Insights to help them scale up a survey by using a blended model, human agents and IVR voice bots. Antara will tell you more about the why, but basically our objective was to conduct scale cleanliness and sanitation survey. And Karvy approached us because in the short time span they failing us 6 languages hiring a call center operation up and running, whereas we were able to use automation to address part of the problem. We were the primary survey manager, and Voxta provided the customized voice bot engines to the surveys were which were a blend of majority majority were on IVR and 40% were human, 60-40 ratio, outbound calls to to customers, 17 questions pan-India in 6 languages. The telephonic survey was 50,000 telephonic surveys, 4 weeks from start to finish. We had a variety of qualifying questions. So the survey took several different directions depending on the answers from those surveyed. There were multiple choice questions, and actually it was 8 languages. Right. So I'll hand you over to Antara, who is the Vice President at Karvy Insights, to give flavor. Antara?
Yeah, thanks, Kavita. So, just to reiterate, this was, a pan-India survey in 8 languages, which had to be turned around in a very, very short span in time. And like she said, that we did use a blended solution of, human outbound, agents, as well as the voice bot, solutions of Voxta. Now, what typically happens is that when you have a project like this, the first thing that comes to our mind is, okay, what are the number of questions that we are, going to have? And we say, okay, so 17, which we actually had. We then figure out the productivity per person, per man day. Then you do the back calculation of how many people are required, how many languages are required. Now here, when we have got multiple languages, we know that it will be split across multiple delivery op centers, because in our experience, you can't do 8 languages major service through just one center. And come with that comes your recruitment, your training, then your exact launch days, and all the associated infrastructure and logistics issues. So that is what one part of the story is, when you have the human outbound callers. And then you have Voxta solution, where once you've extensively tested the solution and it's launched, and it's pretty easy. We did 50,000 surveys in just 4 weeks. So that's where it's very scalable. It gives you a lot of productivity, and at the end of the day, that it's a very cost effective solution. Of course, the data will be available to us in all and any format for us to analyze. What, however, people may not get is a higher disposition or a response rate. It's because you do have a dropout rate, because people, human beings, they innately recognize when you are talking to an automated human voice vis-a-vis a real person talking to you. So what people have to be cognizant about when you're using these solutions is that just keep the appropriate databases in mind, and it should not be an issue. So yeah, and given these times when people, when companies might still feel restrained financially, but they still want to reach out to customers at a very large scale and in a very short span, a solution like Voxta's voice bot will be very, very useful to looked into. So Anup, I'll just hand it over to you now.
Thanks, Antara. Anup,
Yeah.
can you join us?
Sir, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, thank you very much, Kavita and Antara, and a warm welcome to all the audience. I'll just cover one slide that talks about the benefits of communication automation and the voice bots that we create and offer. And frankly speaking, after Antara's speech, there's not much left for me to say because she's covered scale, she's covered cost, she's covered speed, and she's covered quality. But if I had to expand a little bit, the amount of benefits that you get in terms of voice bots, eliminating, let's say, managing attrition and consequent backfill hiring, training, dealing with learning curves, no annual salary increases involved, better customer experience, so higher CSATs, variable payouts, so no fixed cost for agents, and frees up space and management bandwidth, offers actionable business insights, offers data, information, knowledge enrichment, no leaves and absenteeism issues, works 24/7, 365 relentlessly, manages ramp ups, ramp downs on the fly. So there are tons of benefits for voice automation. And so that's the small and the sum and substance of what we have to offer. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Anup. Thank you, Antara. Any questions? Just happy to take any questions, Srinivas. I've just seen one question on a variety of dialects. We customize data on every language that we have. And when we launch specific services, we also test and gather data from that region on the different dialects. So, for instance, when we did the Modi election campaign, though it was in Hindi, we had lots of variants of both the words and the dialects used, because Hindi around the country might as well be several different languages. Hindi in Hyderabad is very different from Hindi in Delhi or in Pune. So yes, we do cater for different dialects. And in that campaign, I think even for a word for woman, we had larki, aurat, whatever. Sorry, I just seen a question about whether we take jobs away. Responding to a global need, automation, to keep it competitive and create jobs. Ultimately, if a lot of these brands go bust because the cost of reaching a customer is very difficult for both those who lose their job and customers. I don't know if you have anything to add, Anup.
Yeah, so we also have a product, a learning app, which is actually teaching English in the tier 2, tier 3 towns to create job opportunities for people. So there's so that's the flip side as well. So while I would agree that when you build in efficiencies in environments like call centers and customer support and whatnot, yes, there is a reduction or a need for reduced headcount as far as agents are concerned. But then there's a huge market and we have a huge talent pool waiting to get into jobs also. And there is a demand on that side as well. So we do have activity going on in our company to give that a fillip also. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll take the next, question, which basically says how comfortable are audiences with a bot, talking to them. I think I did address that when I said that the response rate might take a hit. Now, what I said is that whenever we pick up the phone, human beings innately will be able to tell you whether that voice is an automated voice or a real person talking to you. So what happens is that people tend to disconnect much faster. So you have dropouts. So, and what needs to be taken care here is the length of your survey. The more questions you have, the more discomfort that they will have and their chances of disconnecting. Yeah, but I think also by now in the last 1 or 2 years, a lot of surveys are happening on the automated front. A lot of marketing pitches are happening, especially post lockdown session. I don't see why people are not getting used to. It's now I think something people are getting acclimatized.
Thanks, Antara. The first question. Voxta has a USP in Indian regional languages. How do we reach out to our audience who might not be easily accessible otherwise? I think actually the interesting thing is we have been chosen by brands who cater to a very diverse audience, entry level, things like Dettol, and they basically use people may or may not be on smartphones, but the IVR option, getting calls or making calls and having an automated but very human sound, a human voice, a recorded voice. Actually, we use either a voice artist or in the case of Dettol, we had used Amitabh Bachchan. It's a very sounding experience, and it tends to be a very inclusive and accessible experience for end users, much more so than having to use to type if they are not already familiar with a keyboard in Hindi or Bengali or Marathi. So Voxta is very accessible both at the bottom of the pyramid and also with mobile apps for banking that we are doing at the moment, very much in terms of the affluent and urban who use mobile voice. How do we lose human touch in this AI-driven voice assistant? A couple of points in answer to that. I think first and foremost, we always make sure the voice sounds very human. Because it's an interactive solution, we make sure that the recording is not just the voice speaking to people, is not just a text-to-speech engine, but actually a voiceover artist, or in the case of brands, they have big artists like Amitabh Bachchan or Prime Minister Modi or somebody representing them. That's one answer. The second thing is there is a lot that can be to make very free flowing. It's not just it doesn't feel like that is partly the team. I mean, my background is itself in content production in radio, TV, and online at the BBC in England, and so we make sure that when we design the conversations, we take the data from the client on what the phone conversation dialogue on the very interactive is there.
I think we have one more question.
And what do you feel about how human are these voice?
So I have, of course, been working with, as from a customer's point of view, I was with one of the largest BPO, global BPOs in India and in the US. And my experience with voice bots is that they have come a long way. So I think it's a very fair question, simply because when we started off this journey, the voice bots did sound very mechanical in nature. But I think early on, within a matter of a year or so, people realized that they needed the bots to sound more human. There's been immense amount of work that's done to have bots sound more like humans. So even dragging on conversation like saying, "Oh well, actually you see," and things of that kind, rather than just a mechanical voice. So they do sound a lot human these days.
That's great. Thank you, panelists, for an enriching session. Also, special thanks to our sponsors, Z5, InfoWeb, Flipkart Ads, Financial Express, and Jagran New Media. Thank you.